Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into one of the most wildly unpredictable days in recent sports history, June 14th, 2026. This was the day the massive 48-team World Cup experiment was put to the absolute ultimate test. We're talking total chaos, historic glory, and some, well, pretty unprecedented logistical realities. Let's get right into the beautiful game. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with historic firsts and huge blowouts, then hit the thrillers and late-match drama, explore the dual national dilemma, shout out some breakout stars and unlikely heroes, and finally wrap it all up with culture, controversies, and the expansion itself. Section 1, Historic Firsts and Huge Blowouts. The spectacle of the mismatch. You know, when you expand a tournament to 48 teams, you are absolutely guaranteed some wild David versus Goliath scenarios. Literally before the players even stepped onto the pitch in Houston, history was being made right on the sidelines. Get this. There was a staggering 40-year age gap between the two managers. You had Germany's Julian Nagelsmann, the youngest coach in the tournament at just 38, facing off against Curaçao's Dick Advocaat, who at 78 became the oldest ever to manage in a World Cup. It's the largest managerial age gap in the history of the whole tournament, setting the absolute perfect stage for a clash of generations. And well, that footballing pedigree ultimately won out in a massive way. Germany secured a ruthless, clinical 7-1 victory. Kai Havertz led a relentless charge, giving his squad a desperately needed confidence boost after those disappointing early exits in Russia and Qatar. I mean, they were utterly dominant. But if you look at that single goal on the other side of the ledger, it actually tells an entirely different, incredibly beautiful story. That 21st-minute strike, that was Curaçao's first ever World Cup goal. Picture this. A loose ball pops out near the top of the box, and Livano Comenencia fires a left-footed shot right through traffic that deflects past Manuel Neuer. For one brief, glorious moment, it tied the game at 1-1 and sent the tiny Caribbean nation into an absolute frenzy. Curaçao's J.R.L. Margarita really hit the nail on the head. He said, "Even though it wasn't me, it felt like it was me. It was all of us, the whole island, everybody. We screamed our lungs out, so we were happy." It perfectly captures how, in an expanded World Cup, getting blown out can still contain a moment of transcendent, historic joy for a debut nation. Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds. Thrillers and late-match drama. Down to the wire. So while Houston gave us a massive blowout, other cities across North America were treating fans to absolute nail-biters. Over in Dallas, we had one of the most hotly anticipated group stage clashes of the day, Netherlands versus Japan. And wow, it ended in a thrilling 2-2 draw. This was a mesmerizing back-and-forth tactical battle. Japan's Samurai Blue proved their dark horse credentials for sure, trading blows with a heavily favored orange squad. Neither team could fully break the other down to find a winner, but honestly, it was exactly the kind of high-level, tightly contested matchup that football purists just live for. Meanwhile, up in Philadelphia, Ivory Coast and Ecuador were locked in this tense Group E battle that looked absolutely destined to be the 2026 World Cup's very first scoreless draw. Both teams had hit the woodwork, the tension was just mounting, and then came the 90th minute. Manchester United forward Amad Diallo found the back of the net with a pinpoint strike. He secured a massive 1-0 victory for Ivory Coast and provided some incredible last-gasp salvation for the roaring fans in the stands. A real game-changer. Let's step into Section 4, Breakout Stars and Unlikely Heroes. Stepping into the spotlight. You know, a World Cup is literally nothing without the individuals who step up and seize the moment. And June 14th gave us an incredible mix of generations defying all expectations. First off, you had 40-year-old Manuel Neuer coming out of international retirement to start against Curaçao, tying Lothar Matthäus's legendary German record for World Cup appearances. Then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, 22-year-old Australian goalkeeper Patrick Beach was handed a surprise start over a 3-time World Cup veteran. And what does he do? He delivers an absolute masterclass with 8 acrobatic saves to secure a shocking 2-0 win over Turkey. Meanwhile, the whole footballing world is holding its collective breath over the questionable status of Spain's teenage superstar Lamine Yamal. His lingering hamstring injury is keeping fans and tactical analysts entirely on the edge of their seats right now. Zooming out for our final section, Section 5, Culture, Controversies, and Expansion, the macro view. And this brilliantly illustrates the macro view. Hosting a massive 48-team tournament across 3 huge North American countries brings some seriously bizarre logistical realities and incredible cultural crossovers. we're seeing this hilarious culinary culture clash, with European fans from Ireland, Scotland, and Germany going completely viral on social media for discovering the magic of Taco Bell Crunchwrap Supremes and American ranch dressing. It's amazing. But on the flip side, there's serious off-pitch chaos too. The Uruguayan national team was stranded in Mexico for hours due to some mysterious airline permitting error. And in a pretty stark reminder of geopolitical realities, an African referee of the year from Somalia was actually denied entry into the United States by Customs and Border Protection. Although FIFA did confirm he'll still be paid his full tournament fee despite taking no part in the matches. Wild, right? All of this chaos naturally fuels the overarching structural debate of the tournament itself. UEFA President Alexander Ceferin has been highly critical of the expanded field. And we're hearing from a lot of football traditionalists who argue that expanding to 48 teams dilutes the overall quality of the competition. They're pointing straight to those lopsided 7-1 mismatches as undeniable evidence. Proponents, however, argue the exact opposite. They say it grows the game globally and gives smaller nations an absolutely crucial once-in-a-lifetime platform. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative question. Is the 48-team World Cup expansion a true success? When you weigh the lopsided scorelines and the sheer logistical nightmares against the pure, unbridled joy of debut nations scoring their first-ever goals, where do you land? Does the magic of Curaçao's single goal justify the blowouts? It's a really complex puzzle, and one we'll all be trying to piece together as this massive tournament continues. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking those big questions and enjoy the rest of the matches.